This is the story of the most powerful and ruthless king of a dystopian world being reincarnated into a medieval isekai world. As he opens his eyes as a newborn, he finds his mother and father looking at him with love and joy. The parents comment on how their newborn child has facial features similar to their own and are overjoyed by the arrival of their newest family member. The father, Reynolds, names his son Arthur and immediately wants Arthur to call him Papa. However, the mother, Alice, thinks Arthur is too young for that. While the two young parents are goofing around with their new child, Arthur wonders who these two people are and why they are claiming to be his parents. If they really are who they claim to be, that would mean he somehow died in his previous life and has been reborn with his memories intact. Arthur looks at the starry night sky, not believing that after his countless victories and world domination, he's been reduced by the gods to a powerless infant. He is embarrassed, to say the least, and the fact that he has to go through the process of burping is giving him second-hand embarrassment. Arthur doesn't hate his current life, as both his parents are taking good care of him, but he is still displeased. He doesn't want to wear diapers, and he also has a constant sense of fear that someone might hurt him. All he can do to keep his guard up is clench his fist. Arthur's father notices this and uses the opportunity to place his finger under Arthur's hand to show his wife how much their son loves him. Arthur struggles to move, and as he presses too hard, he poops himself, and now his mom has to be the one to clean him. The embarrassment almost makes Arthur want to cry. He wants this bizarre dream to end, but unfortunately, this is the harsh reality he must face from now on. Putting that aside, Arthur witnesses something even stranger. His dad is able to conjure magic and use it to boost his strength. His mom also possesses magic and uses it to heal his dad, making Arthur wonder how magic works, as it is a power he has been unfamiliar with in his past life. He is genuinely fascinated by magic and wants to see more. To do so, he realizes he must grow up first. Meanwhile, his dad enters the forest and subjugates a beast using his strengthening magic. Soon after, his group of friends visits him to hang out. Let me tell you, they will all play an important role in the later story. Back to Arthur, since he has nothing else to do, he examines his surroundings and absorbs as much knowledge as possible, because universally, knowledge is power. Reynolds comes back home after the hunting session, and Arthur wonders if he is now in a society where every single individual is allowed to own weapons. If this is the case, it means there is a level of danger outside that has made it so. Arthur believes it's only reasonable for him to obtain powers as quickly as he can to adapt to this world. Arthur has many questions, which he unfortunately cannot ask yet. But despite all his frustrations, he still feels happy because he gets to have wholesome, priceless moments with his parents. In his previous life, Arthur didn't even have the freedom to sleep peacefully because his enemies tried to assassinate him every night. Now that he is finally experiencing peace, he becomes accustomed to his new life. After days, weeks, and perhaps months, he learns to crawl and quickly makes his way to the mirror to see how good he looks. After getting used to crawling and gaining good control over his limbs, Arthur sneaks out of his bed whenever his parents aren't around and heads to the library. There, he grabs a book, wanting to learn more about this world, and discovers that the continent he was born in is called Dicathan. Dicathan contains 3 kingdoms. The Darv Kingdom, where dwarves reside, the Elanwar Kingdom, where elves rule deep within a forest, and finally, the Sapin Kingdom, where humans live, including Arthur. Arthur's nation is a monarchy, but the throne is inherited, unlike his previous world, where anyone could seize the throne by killing the previous king. After gathering basic information about this world, Arthur looks for a book on magic, and in a very cute way, grabs it off the shelf. After getting the book from the shelf, Arthur begins to reminisce on how more developed his previous life was compared to this one. The book he had taken from the shelf was to make him understand why this is so. He intends to study magic, which the people of this world referred to as mana. This can only be passed down from generations to generations and can be seen in just 1 out of 100 people. Furthermore, only two forms of mana exist in the world, and they are augmenting, which involves enhancing the body's abilities with mana, and conjuring, which involves projecting mana and controlling it however the conjurer pleases. While reading this, he is reminded of his mother's abilities earlier, which clearly proves that she is a conjurer. Although every person that possesses mana has a mana core, which most spellcasters tap into at the beginning of puberty. When they do this well and master it, they can now become mages. Having read this, Arthur believes it is similar to the concept of Kai, which he is very familiar with. However, he is skeptical about whether this knowledge would serve as a weapon for him, being the wannabe kung fu warrior he is. At that moment, he channels his inner Kai and is about to attain a certain level when his mother, Alice, interrupts him. She carries him up like the bae he is and looks at him closely. At first, he thinks she has caught on to his charade. But she soon reveals that he must have shit himself, which he clearly did. The stench. While Alice goes to change his diapers, Arthur is devastated by how much of a prison this body was becoming. He vows to gain more power. Later on, Alice spends time documenting aspects of Arthur's life and is so pleased with how much he is improving in this world. However, she is bothered about the fact that he has never smiled at them. With "I've thought of this" makes her sad. He looks out the window to find her husband, Ray, teaching Arthur how to use a sword. He is so happy to inform Alice about Arthur's progress, but she is pissed at him for teaching their young son a very harmful skill. Sorry man, women are hard to understand. She believes he is too young to learn how to use a sword and scolds her husband loudly. On the other hand, Arthur watches them closely and uses them as a framework to understand the structure of marriage, even though he is starting to believe that the world they live in could be ruled by women. Later that day, Alice takes Arthur to the market, and he is so thrilled at everything he sees. Every single item he lays his eyes on seems like a lesson to learn for him. Now I understand why babies look around like they know the place. Especially items that didn't exist in his previous world. He even got to observe magic up close, which he found very helpful. On the way back, he is gradually falling asleep. But before then, thinks about how helpful his family has been to him. They finally get home and Alice takes him to his room. On the way, she talks about how happy she is whenever he slips out of bed to read and how curious he is whenever they are at the market. She believes he had gotten these qualities from his father, Ray, just like him. She comes to the conclusion that he could end up running off to see the world, but hopes that he would get to live a more peaceful life. That evening, Arthur watches his father do some magic and is thrilled at the thought of having someone he could learn from closely. He watches his father raise a few rocks from the ground and changes his mind. Before he could get incredibly disappointed, Alice comes around. She assures him that Ray is just getting started and urges him to watch even more closely. At that moment, Ray amplifies his magic and ends up pulling off some advanced skills. Watching him do this, Arthur immediately figures that his father is an augmenter. He gets pumped to do a trick of his own, but his daydream is cut short when his mom informs him that it is now his bedtime. While she carries him to his room, he comes across a book on the shelf and continues to point at him, crying out loudly for her to let him read it. After a brief moment of unleashing his cute face, she is forced to let him read it for a while. Can anyone tell me how this worked? Just as he reads the book, he reminds himself of all the knowledge he has gained in his bid to produce a mana core for himself. He begins to channel all the mana from various points in his body to one point. He does this for a while, and at the time when his parents thought he would probably be asleep, a loud explosion comes from within the house. When this happens, Ray dives quickly to protect his wife and ends up getting his back burnt. After verifying that Alice is safe, they both remember that they had left Arthur in the house. Hurriedly, they run into the house and are surprised to their bones when they find Ray floating mid-air. They are left dumbfounded at the sight of this and do nothing but watch him as he descends to the ground. Just as he does so, the roof begins to fall. Since he was just a child, Arthur couldn't move out of the way in time, but his parents swiftly shield him from what could have been his reunion with the underworld. Soon after, they all burst into tears, with Arthur realizing that Alice and Ray would do all they can to keep him safe, a sense of assurance he never got in his past life. we get a glimpse into the past life of Arthur, who was once known as King Grey. Back then, a royal servant was caught attempting to assassinate him. By law, the man should have been executed without question. But instead, the king's council decided to exile him to his home country along with his entire family, fully aware that a fate far worse than death awaited them there. The assailant, desperate and terrified, begged Grey to spare his family. Yet Grey, showing no mercy, slaughtered the man's wife and daughter right before his eyes. Not out of vengeance though, but as an act of mercy. A chilling display of just how cold-blooded he truly was. So it's almost unbelievable to think that Arthur, this innocent-looking kid, is the same person who once ruled with such heartless resolve. Right now, Arthur is spending time with his father Ray, who gifts him a pair of identical combat gloves like his own. But Arthur turns them down, choosing to stick with his wooden sword instead. He believes that with his current physique, wearing the gloves would shorten his reach too much and put him at a disadvantage. Before we continue, on my second channel, something truly special is happening. I recreate the best anime moments in real 4K at 60 FPS using advanced AI, not just basic upscaling. It's a handcrafted process where my PC runs 24 hours non-stop to bring out every frame in flawless detail. You've never seen anime like this. It's a level of quality that's rare, maybe even impossible elsewhere. Link in pinned comment to experience it for yourself. Ray doesn't argue or insist. Instead, he smiles and casually steps into their usual sparring session. But today isn't like the others. Mid-fight, Arthur reveals he's learned how to reinforce his sword with mana, and with that sudden reveal, he completely disarms Ray. For the first time in his life, Arthur wins, leaving Ray stunned, speechless, and completely caught off guard by his son's rapid growth. Later at dinner, Ray decides to get Arthur a proper instructor, having realized that he will be hindering his son's progress if he doesn't. Arthur's mom Alice stands against this decision as she knows that getting Arthur an instructor means he'll have to leave their hillside home and go far to the city alone at the young age of 4. Ray still insists, telling Alice that Arthur is now able to enhance anything with magic, and states that it's for his future. Both parents go back and forth on the matter and end up in a big argument at the dinner table. So, Arthur comes up with a simple solution to create a win-win situation for both of them, and proposes that they both come along with him to the city. This way, Ray gets to have Arthur trained by a proper tutor, and Alice gets to have her little boy by her side at all times. Arthur's parents instantly agree and start packing immediately for their move to the city. Not long after, Ray's friend group, an adventuring party called the Two Horns, comes personally to escort Arthur and his family to the city. Arthur introduces himself to them, and to their leader Adam, who tells Arthur that they've met in the past, but assumes a kid like Arthur wouldn't remember. However, Arthur does remember everything crystal clear. It was back when he blew up the entire house. At that time, the Two Horns came to help rebuild it, and Arthur overheard their entire conversation, learning that his parents were once part of the Two Horns before settling down. Anyway, when Adam finishes speaking with Arthur, Angela steps in, giving Arthur a tight hug, leaving no room for him to breathe. Durden, the tank of the group, notices the kid's struggle and pulls him away from Angela. That's when Arthur notices a young lady staring at him from the top of the carriage. She is Jasmine, seemingly not that friendly, who only silently watches Arthur from the distance. Arthur gets lost in her eyes when Helen approaches, shakes his hand, and introduces herself and Jasmine on her stead. With the introduction of the Two Horns coming to an end, the journey to Xyrus City begins. Arthur quietly comments to himself how primitive this transportation system is compared to his old world, where flying cars were the norm. Still, he doesn't think it's terrible though, especially with his ever-caring mom by his side on the journey. They take several breaks every day, and during one of them, a pack of wild wolf monsters attacks, making Arthur realize firsthand how dangerous the outside world truly is. Jasmine steps up to fight the wolves and, using her daggers, effortlessly takes them down. Ray, Adam, and the other members of the Two Horns join the battle, and soon after, they handle the situation. Arthur, as the only spectator, becomes motivated by his companions and begins to look forward to joining them in their next fight. They have a feast later that night when Arthur notices that Alice isn't eating anything at all. She claims she's full, but something feels off. She notices an injury on Ray's arm and immediately gets up to heal him. As she does, the atmosphere shifts. The group becomes cautious, subtly guarding the area to ensure no outsiders are watching. It becomes clear to Arthur they are only taking precautions because healing magic is rare and highly sought after in this world. Apparently, the sole reason Ray and Alice have been living alone in the scarce hillside is to keep Alice's healing abilities hidden from prying eyes. After the feast, Adam borrows Arthur from his parents, wanting to spar with the boy to see if he's really as skilled as Ray claims. The rest of the group is just as curious about the child prodigy's potential, so they gather around, creating an unexpected crowd. Arthur, only 4 years old, wonders if none of them are even slightly worried about him. Regardless, this marks Arthur's first sparring match against someone other than his father, and unlike Ray, who only used a wooden stick, Adam is wielding a real spear, albeit covered with bandages. As soon as the duel begins, Adam wastes no time enhancing his spear with mana. Arthur responds by doing the same, but takes it a step further, channeling mana into his feet to boost his speed dramatically. In a sudden blur, he darts forward, landing the first hit before Adam can react. Right after, he slides cleanly between Adam's legs and creates distance, leaving the entire group speechless at his incredible speed and precision. The fight intensifies. They clash head-on, but the power gap becomes undeniable. Arthur, with no raw strength, is completely and quite literally is blown away by Adam's strike. The impact sends him flying, and he instantly realizes just how light and fragile his current body is for direct combat. Before he can hit the ground too hard, Angela uses her wind magic to gently lower him down, softening the fall. Durden quickly steps in, reprimanding Adam for going too far against a little kid, reminding him that he was supposed to hold back. Adam raises his hands in defense, admitting he got carried away, but only because Arthur's technique caught him completely off guard. Deep down, he's left wondering what kind of hellish training Ray put this kid through to turn him into such a monster at just 4 years old. Turning to the side, he finds Jasmine looking at him weirdly. She wishes to know how he just pulled that off and pleads with him to teach her how to do it. Seeing the blank expression on her face, he comes to the conclusion that she will not back down until she gets what she wants. The next morning, they all continue on their journey and soon take a stop at a quiet area for Arthur to continue with his training. Adam teaches him how to use a spear, while his father pulls up some gym bro moves, even though the weakling was just a weakling. After that, Helen teaches him some archery, and he becomes a pro in a short time. With all his training done for the day, he proceeds to give Jasmine the lessons she demanded for, and she proves to be a fast learner. Later that night, while he is reading a book, Jasmine continues to stare at him like she is lost in his non-existent handsomeness. Soon after, she becomes like a stalker. The next day happens to be Arthur's birthday, and Jasmine hands him a dagger as a gift. To the surprise of the other ladies, she even began explaining how to use the dagger to him. Having gotten enough of their child's play, and being a pained single man, Adam announces that they would be heading out now. When his mother, Alice, calls him over, he discovers that she is not feeling so well. When he asks her what the problem is, she assures him that she is fine, even though he doesn't buy her bullshit. As they continue on their journey, they soon get attacked by bandits along the way. When this happens, they all jump down from the carriage and take their stance in defense. The bandits rain down arrows on them, but Angela shields them from it with her magic barrier. Looking outside, Arthur figures that they are largely surrounded. On the other hand, the leader of the bandits, with a cube-shaped head, orders his men not to harm the women and children since he intends to sell them for a good price. Just then, the bandits charge aggressively at them, and Alicia, who clearly is scared, tries to make Arthur stay calm. Before the bandits could get any closer to them, Durden blasts them away, while Ray swiftly punches them. One of the bandits is about to strike Ray when Helen shoots an arrow through his wicked heart. Furthermore, Adam slices past the bandits with his spear, while Jasmine strikes them with her daggers. Watching them do all this makes Arthur acknowledge that the members of the Twin Horns party are individually skilled. However, since the bandits outnumber them greatly, they stand no chance. After fighting for a while, they all become exhausted, while the bandits keep coming at them. Soon enough, the bandits slam Ray into the carriage and he lies unconscious. This allows the ugly bandit leader to get closer to Alice and Arthur. Seeing Ray in this state, the two run out of the carriage, but at this time, Ray regains consciousness and asks that they step back. Even in his obviously beat-up state, he still decides to be the man. He asks Arthur to take his mother and run away. Hearing this, the clueless dummy insists on staying and joining them to fight, but his father reveals that his mother is pregnant. This leaves him with the answers to the suspicions he had had since about why his mother looked like she was sick. Meanwhile, Ray asks that he leave immediately and states his trust that Arthur would protect his mother and unborn brother. Hurriedly, Arthur grabs Alicia and starts running away with her. Angrily, the largemouth bandit's leader orders his men to stop them. But Ray comes charging at him when it seemed like Arthur and Alicia would get caught. Adam and Jasmine throw knives at the bandits to clear the way for them. Soon, all the members of the party join hands to help Arthur and Alicia escape while they face the bandits head-on. While running away, Arthur reminisces on the fact that he was once one who stole many souls and has now become someone who is scared of having his own soul taken away from him. The mere thought of this leaves him angry, but his tiny feet have nothing to do about it but run for his sorry life. After running for a while, Arthur senses an incoming attack from the mountains and looks up to see a suspicious man about to strike them with his magic. He immediately pushes his mother away and in the process, gets hit by the magic, which causes him to lose balance and fall off the mountain. On his way down, he is determined not to arrive at the underworld alone. He makes use of the dagger Jasmine had given him, which had a string attached to it, and throws it at the enemy. The dagger grabs onto the leg of the enemy and pulls him down from the top of the mountain. While this is going on, Durden and Angela try to use their magic to save Arthur, but he is too far away for it to reach him before he falls to the ground. As he descends to the ground, Arthur begins to think about his existence, while his mother watches him from the top with her hand stretched wide, hoping she can grab him. The thought of losing her son causes her to shed tears, but Arthur, on the other hand, is fulfilled that he got to protect his own family, even if it cost him his life, although he is sad that he won't get to be a big brother like he wished he would. Surprisingly, Arthur survives the fall and wakes up to find himself in the presence of a very large and fierce-looking monster. This leaves him incredibly scared. Before we continue, on my second channel, something truly special is happening. I recreate the best anime moments in real 4K at 60 FPS using advanced AI, not just basic upscaling. It's a handcrafted process where my PC runs 24 hours non-stop to bring out every frame in flawless detail. You've never seen anime like this. It's a level of quality that's rare, maybe even impossible elsewhere. Link in pinned comment to experience it for yourself.
The sight of the monster leaves Arthur completely petrified and unable to speak. Arthur, suspecting that the monster has lured him here, tries to strike her, but she simply pushes him away with a flick of her fingers. She assures him that she's not his enemy and gets up, gathering some magical fruits from a mysterious plant that she's grown herself to feed Arthur, assuming he needs food and nutrition to heal his wounds. Arthur can't believe that this scary monster is acting like a caring mother towards him. He is skeptical of her intentions, but as his wounds continue to hurt, not allowing him to move, he starts crying uncontrollably. The monster lady promises Arthur that she will answer every question in his mind. So Arthur takes the chance and munches down the food. With the condition fulfilled, he asks her if his parents are safe, and she claims that although she is unable to leave the cave, with her spatial awareness, she has confirmed that Arthur's family defeated all of the bandits and left this place a couple of days ago. Arthur is relieved to hear that his mom, dad, and his soon-to-be-born sister are safe, and he thanks the monster lady for saving his life. He doesn't know what to call her, neither do we, so she introduces herself as Sylvia, and it looks like Sylvia is hiding some deep secrets. Arthur spends the next few days under Sylvia's care, continuing to eat the fruits which accelerate his recovery and completely heal his wounds. Now that he's able to move, he wishes to return home, but according to Sylvia, they are in the territory of deadly beasts and bandits, and if Arthur goes alone, he wouldn't survive a single day out there. Still, Sylvia comes up with a way for him to leave, as she can't bear to see this child separated from his family. Using the last of her magical powers, she begins preparing to open a dimensional rift. In the meantime, Arthur spends his days practicing swordsmanship. He keeps wondering to himself what secrets this hideous-looking monster is hiding from him, why she's so caring towards him, and what's the reason behind the hole on her chest. But since she never speaks about herself, he has no way of knowing. After training, he meditates to enhance his mana core, which piques Sylvia's interest. She then shows him something even more fascinating, a method to gather mana from the surroundings while simultaneously using magic. Sylvia explains how people's fixed concept of mana has created the problem of collecting and using it separately. She points out that many beings like her can do both at the same time, eliminating the issue of mana depletion altogether. She adds that magical beasts can perform this technique as naturally as breathing. She then asks Arthur if he wants to learn this ability, and of course, Arthur doesn't hesitate to answer with an enthusiastic yes. But before teaching him, she asks one question. Why does he want this ability? Arthur answers honestly. He tells her that obtaining this power will make him stronger, and with that strength, he wants to bring death to anyone who dares to harm his loved ones. His naive answer earns him yet another flick on the forehead. Sylvia tells him he's failed. She refuses to teach someone who is driven by hatred, but Arthur believes it's only natural to despise one's enemies. Speaking from the bitter experiences of his past life as the strongest king, Sylvia can sense Arthur's bloodlust and tells him that hurting people is never something one should aspire to. Then, after a pause, she apologizes for flicking him too hard, yet she also reminds him that the same hands capable of destroying him completely can also touch him gently. That's what she wants him to understand. It's better to be kind to others, because anger, hatred, and violence only leave behind pain. She saved his life with compassion, and she doesn't want him to stain that act of kindness with his hatred. As Arthur slowly begins to understand what she's trying to teach him, she asks him another question. What will he use his power for when he becomes stronger? Arthur, recalling the memories of the time he spent with his parents and their friends, responds saying that he wants to become stronger to protect his loved ones, and this time Sylvia approves. Meanwhile, on a nearby cliff, another creature appears who looks exactly like Sylvia. He reveals that he's been searching for Sylvia, who has gone into hiding to stay away from his kingdom. Another flashback takes us into Arthur's past life. This time, he's inside his royal chambers. After waking up in the morning, he heads to the office of one of his subordinates, who is a member of Parliament. Arthur tells him bluntly that he is only the king in name only, and in reality, it's the Parliament that holds all the power. In a world where resources are being exhausted and birth rates are steadily declining, Arthur believes he's merely fulfilling the role assigned to him, that he's just a device of violence. His subordinate tries to calm him down, flattering him with big words. In any case, Arthur leaves, and shortly after, he is mysteriously assassinated. Just as Arthur tries to use the new power that Sylvia has given him, he recalls his former life. In that life, he knew not everyone was fortunate, but all he ever tried to do was unlock the ability to use Kai power. At that moment, the power falls on him completely, and he feels overwhelmed. The question, as always, remains, what will he do with this new power he has just received? As he tries to practice with the energy surging through him, Sylvia suddenly throws him against a rock. He's confused. What is happening? Why is the one who has been taking care of him suddenly hiding him away? She tells him not to be afraid, but that he must remain there for a while. Inside the rock, he witnesses an incredible surge of power. Another creature, one that looks exactly like Sylvia, arrives. This creature had been lurking around, searching for her. Sylvia is shocked that he found her, and he reveals that he followed the smell of blood. He demands she come with him immediately, but she refuses. Sylvia is ready to fight to the death. When the creature moves to attack, she transforms into her true self. The entire area turns icy as she breathes out frost. She is indeed a powerful dragon. Seeing her in this form, the creature warns her that using that kind of power will kill her. But she doesn't care about death. To her, she's lived a graceful life, and she's at peace with dying. So even if it means death, she refuses to surrender to him. They engage in a fierce, terrifying battle, one that Arthur watches helplessly from the cave. He's overwhelmed by the manner of strength they both have. As expected, the creature fights back just as fiercely. It even looks like he's gaining the upper hand, until Sylvia releases her trump card. She freezes the entire area, seizes the creature, and then opens the cave to let Arthur out. When he comes out, he is stunned. He sees her true form. She is a dragon. She opens the sky above and tells him he can now leave. She says she's given him power to help him find his way home. Again, she asks him what he will do with that power. She hopes he won't be consumed by anger or hatred. Arthur answers that he'll use the power to protect his family. She smiles. She doesn't want him to live a life of sadness or hatred, and to her, the power isn't to fight or revenge. Instead, she wishes he will spread love to everyone. His reply makes her deeply moved. Before letting him go, she gives him a dragon egg and a feather, asking him to wrap the egg with the feather. Then she touches him, and he's suddenly filled with an overwhelming flow of energy. A glowing line, like a tattoo, spreads from his fingers down to his arm, his top tears, revealing the line. She admits she could have sent him home earlier. She always knew how. Arthur had thought she kept him there because it was unsafe to return. But she reveals the truth. She loved his company. Having someone to talk to, someone to bond with, was something she hadn't experienced in a long time. His presence had been a precious gift, and he sincerely enjoyed being with her too. He learned a lot from her. It's an emotional goodbye. In tears, Arthur regrets that there's nothing he can do to protect Sylvia. He recalls that she taught him a lot, even gave him strength. She had treated him with such love and care, but he can't even save her despite all she had done for him. He feels sincerely sad. He weeps, remembering the promise he made to her. He feels like he's failed, but all these doesn't matter to her. She had lived a life she is grateful for. But then, with a soft smile, he tells her he doesn't care what she is, whether she's a dragon or a monster. All he knows is that she is family. She teases, asking how he can call her a family when he already has a mother waiting at home. Thinking about it, he smiles and says, "Then you're my grandmother." That single word, grandmother, hits deep. It cuts into her soul. Even for Sylvia, a dragon, the emotion overwhelms her. She begins to cry. She asks him to call her that again. He does. Just as he calls her grandmother, she quietly lies down, content about her life. Arthur takes the egg and the feather she gave him, and the sky opens. It's time to leave, but he doesn't want to go. He begs her to come with him, but she doesn't respond. The opening closes. Just as she leaves, Sylvia releases the sealed world, and her opponent regains strength. She suddenly collapses to the ground, as if she's dead. The creature approaches, wondering if someone as powerful as she is can die with just a small attack. He comes closer, trying to understand, but Sylvia had only played dead. As he draws near, she opens her eyes and releases a massive burst of mana, too powerful for anyone to survive in. The entire cave shakes, the explosion so great it reaches the surface. Meanwhile, in tears, Arthur continues his journey home. Her voice echoes in the sky. She reminds him not to forget their conversations. She knows sadness is natural, but begs him to smile through it. He shouldn't try to fight back or revenge due to sadness, but he doesn't think he has the ability to do that. She advises he shouldn't try to carry the smile at once. He should simply take things one step at a time, changing the world bit by bit. Arthur doubts himself, but she reminds him who he is. He is King Grey, the strongest king. He can do anything. She begs him not to fill his heart with anger and pain, but to live a life of happiness. He is shocked that all these, while she was with him, she was aware of his true nature. It's a moment full of truth and deep emotion. Her voice eventually fades into the wind. Arthur, now back on Earth, carefully places her gifts in his bag. With a new resolve and strength, he starts going home, with the intention to change the world with a smile, one step at a time. Will this resolve last long?
The second part is available on the Ani Senpai channel. You can watch it via the link in the comments or in the end screen of this video. Enjoy watching.